Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be talking you through all of the series that I have incomplete. So this is a follow-up from last week's video, which is on series that I'm up to date on. These ones are incomplete and it is completely my fault for not having continued on with the series and finished it or caught up with it. I also want to say that my complete series list I will probably be putting up sometime in the new year. I still need to figure out how I'm going to film it because there are 80 plus series that I have completed in my lifetime and I need to figure out how I'm going to break that up somehow. So you can look forward to that once I figured that out sometime in 2021. So for today, there are 14 incomplete series that I have no excuse for not finishing. The first one I have is The Last Namsara by Kristen Ciccarelli, and I have read the first 2 books in this series and I just have the third one that I haven't finished. And this is a fantasy YA series that is focused around dragons. And so in this first book you're following our main character and she is able to talk to dragons and control them in a way, and dragons they're considered evil in this world and that they need to be killed. So she is out trying to kill all these dragons in order to look after the kingdom, but it seems as though dragons are very misunderstood. I have no excuse for not having finished the series and read the third one. They're all companion novels, but they follow on from the first one, so I would say I'd recommend reading them in order, but there's no excuse for me not having read the third one yet. Next, I have Flame in the Mist by Renee Ahdieh. And this is, I think it was marketed as a Mulan retelling, and it has elements of Mulan, she dresses up as a boy and tries to hide her identity, but it's not Mulan. And I have no excuse for not finishing the duology. It's just one more book and I've had that book out of the library for months and I have not read it. I am disappointed in myself. I put it on many piles of books of I will read this, and I still have not read it. And I have no reason for not having finished this series. I don't have an excuse at all, apart from that my memory is now going a bit foggy on this, so I need to find a recap of it. I'm so close to finishing it. I have an old YA, which is Graceling by Kristen Cashel. I have just read Graceling and I haven't read Fire and Bitter Blue. I know that these are companions set in a fantasy world. I really enjoyed this, a classic fantasy YA series that I think it deserves more love nowadays. People have, I guess a lot of people have read it back in 2014 or so when it was originally published. Yeah, I need to finish the series with Fire and Bitter Blue. I ordered them from the library back in August, and it said that they would come in on the 1st of September and they still have not come in. So I have no idea what my library is doing with those 2 books because they said there was 2 in the system. And one was due back on the 1st of September and one was due back in 2011 and neither of them have come back in. So that's why I've struggled to continue the series, because my library is failing me. I then have the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Kerri Maniscalco. I have read the first 2 books in this series and so I have 2 to go to finish it. This follows our main character Audrey Rose in the Victorian times, and her uncle has trained in the examination of corpses as a mortician. The first book is following Jack the Ripper and she's trying to figure out the case. And then the second book is set in Transylvania with the influences of Prince Dracula. And so I just need to finish it. I wouldn't say it's my favourite series, but there's just no reason why I haven't finished it. I also have the Books of Babel series by Josiah Bancroft. I've read the first 2 books, which are Senlin Ascends and Arm the Sphinx, and The Hod King is published, but I have not read that one yet. And Alan was very rude to me and he said that I hadn't put Senlin Ascends in my video from last week, and that's because I have not read The Hod King, so I have not caught up with this series yet. And the reason I haven't read this is I've seen that the 4th book has been pushed back a few times and its release date is now November 2021, so I wanted to space The Hod King in between now and the release of the 4th book so that I don't have to reread. So I was thinking maybe reading the 3rd book, The Hod King, in March, April, and then having a reasonable gap between all the releases of the books, just to keep me going between them. So that's the reasoning behind that one. So I'm sorry, Alan, I did not forget Senlin. I know it's your favourite, it's your baby, but it's not been forgotten, don't worry. That one I am in the process of reading. I then have The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and I read the first 2 books many years ago, so I think back in 2014, 2015 I read the first 2 books, and I've owned a copy of the 3rd book for years and just haven't read it. And so I'm now at the point where I need to reread, and I know the 4th book is coming out in January, February time. It is a 7-book series, which is why I think I put off reading the 3rd book, because I knew there was going to be so much time before the series was complete. So I was thinking of soon rereading, well, maybe next year, rereading the 1st and the 2nd book, getting to the 3rd book and then the 4th book. But this is a really cool series set in a world where if you have magical powers, then you are like condemned and sent to prison. Yes, I have really enjoyed the books that I've read by Samantha Shannon, so I just need to reread this. I have Radiance by Grace Draven, and I believe the whole series is now out, and I read this earlier this year and I just need to finish the series. It's a fantasy romance and it's very character driven. You're following, it's a marriage of convenience that's been set up between 2 kingdoms. One of them is ruled by humans, which is hers, and then his, which is a different species. And when they meet, they hate each other, right? Well, they don't necessarily hate each other, but they don't understand the different creatures that they are, and so they see each other as evil and ugly. And then as the book goes on, they actually become friends and they actually create a relationship and come to understand each other more. So it's very character driven, but I think the plot is really going to take off in the 2nd book, and I just need to get to it. I then have Mistborn Era 2. So I have been midway through this book for many years, but I don't know what went wrong. It just went wrong with the series. I have actually just reread The Final Empire, and then I will be continuing on my reread of the series, and then maybe I will get to Era 2 and I'll reread Allies of Law, actually finish Shadows of Self and read Bands of Mourning. But yes, I need to just finish Era 2 of Mistborn. Well, Era 1 again now, because I'm loving my Brandon Sanderson rereads. I then have Gumiho by Kat Cho. This is a duology, and the 2nd book came out earlier this year, and I'm not sure about the series. I really enjoyed this book, but I felt as though it wrapped up pretty well apart from like the final page. So part of me is hesitant about reading that 2nd book just because I felt this worked pretty well as a standalone. But I really enjoyed it. It's like a K-drama in book format. It's Korean inspired, following the main character who is a 9-tailed fox and the male main character who discovers this, and then they come into difficulties as she loses her bead, which is like her soul. Another one that I'm slightly on the fence about is Dark Shores by Danielle L. Jensen. I loved her series, the Stolen Songbird series, which I read a few years ago now, and I really enjoyed it. So I had high hopes going into her other series, but it was just fine. So that makes me a bit hesitant to continue, but I'm also, I enjoyed this world. Like, it's a Roman inspired world where you have, it's like there's 2 corners of the world. There's one side which is very much about empire expansion, so they're using these traders who are on the ships that would go between the 2 worlds, and they are exploiting them so that the empire that wants to expand is using them to try and conquer the other world. And it was fine, but it was very YA and very tropey, so he's a bit on the fence. I then have a book that I thoroughly enjoyed a couple of months ago, which was Jade City by Fonda Lee. So I really enjoyed this book, and I need to get to Jade War, which is the 2nd one. I don't own it yet. I'm struggling with this book because I ended up buying, I think this was in a charity shop, this oversized paperback of the 1st book, and I can only find a normal size paperback of the 2nd book, and that's just going to look really awkward. So then I thought maybe I could buy a hardback of Jade War, but I can't find that anywhere in the UK, so it's a bit of a struggle bus. But I do really want to get to Jade War, and again, another reason why I'm putting it off is that Jade Legacy, the 3rd book, doesn't come out until the 2nd half of 2021, so I sort of want to leave Jade War until like midway between now and then, just so that it's spaced out evenly between the releases. I absolutely love this mafia inspired, like political family drama, Asian inspired fantasy. And another Alan book is the Great Coat series by Sebastian de Castell. I am again slightly on the fence about this one because I found this very average. There were moments that I liked and moments that I didn't like, and so I'm very on the fence about continuing or not. Sorry, Alan. And I know you say that the second book's better, but I'm just so on the fence. But this follows these great coats, which were the king's army, and at the beginning of the book you know that the king has been overthrown by the nobles and the great coats are now like shamed and they aren't viewed very highly in society, and so they're just struggling to go about their lives and maintain the honour that they feel. And our main character, Falcio, he's very driven by honour and respect for the people and doing what's right. They just go on adventures trying to do the right thing. Then this one, I had sort of put it as like, not sure if I'm going to finish the series, but then I read From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So I feel as though I have to go back and reread Wicked, which is another series by her, and finish the series. And I have no reason why I didn't continue, I just didn't continue. And then I thought, oh, I'll put that down. Maybe I'll come back to it at a future time. Now I really, really want to reread that book and finish the series because I loved some of her other books. And so I don't know why I've been sitting on it for so long. So I would really like to read many of Jennifer L. Armentrout's backlist now. And then the final series that I need to catch up on is the Serpent and Dove series by Shelby Mahurin. And I really enjoyed this book. It seems to be very divisive whether you love it or hate it, that it can go either way. I really enjoyed it and I would like to read the second book. I've heard a few mixed things about it, so I'm a bit nervous, and I did plan on picking it up earlier but I just did not get around to it. Hopefully I will be able to continue the series in 2021, and this follows a witch and a witch hunter, and they are put into an arranged marriage, and the witch hunter does not realise that he has married a witch, and so there's this tension between them and there's rising evil amongst some of the witches. This is the final book that I would need to catch up on. So there is a list of series that I am needing to continue and finish and get up to date on, and it's completely my fault and I cannot blame anyone. I just need to read these series and finish them, and it's my fault for getting distracted and starting more series and not finishing what I've started. I like to think of myself as a completer. I think it's like a completer finisher. It's, I don't know, I've seen it at work, like you have different personality traits, and I like to finish things. I like to see things through until the end. And I do complete a lot of series, but I just feel this pressure like weighing down on me now because I have so many incomplete series that I need to finish, and I just end up starting more because I don't know what is wrong with me. So 2021, I will get this number down, I promise. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!